Man, Tide, about time, Tide. It's about time, Tide.
Good evening and welcome to SPORLITIKS, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd. He's got the right hat on, right, Aguna?
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed, Tide. You're coming along very well.
Good. I know that I'm rooting for the Eagles, and I think the Eagles have a good chance on winning over the Penguins in straight sets.
It wasn't going to be funny later on in the show, so you might as well have gotten out the way early. So kudos to you.
Right. Okay. So the second American hostage was released by Hamas, as confirmed by President Joe Biden this evening. Tensions erupt within the Senate GOP over Tuberville's military holds. Ohio State Michigan college football game. I think you should know by now what happened with that. A judge denies former Georgia DA's bid to drop charges in the Ahmaud Arbery case. NFL Week 12 games just passed. Week 12 games just passed. Where does your team stand? As the Philadelphia Eagles has the best record in the league, and Aaron Rodgers is set to return to the Jets in Week 13. The Supreme Court is to examine the power of agencies like the Security and Exchange Commission over other government entities. And Tiger Woods is set to make a return, as he says he will continue to play golf until he thinks he cannot win. Democratic Senator Durbin calls to reopen Gaza hospitals under neutral third part as Israel-Hamas reaches a temporary ceasefire deal and the hostage release continues. The U.S. House of Representatives accelerates its efforts to expel freshman Congressman George Santos tomorrow, as Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says he has real reservations about expelling him. That and more. First up, let's start with the NFL and Aguna. He's ready to go, Aguna.
The birds, man. This is just some awesomeness. Now, I will admit, it didn't look too good. It was rainy. Offense wasn't really going too well early on in that first half. It was just stale. Jalen Hurts wasn't looking himself. He had some key turnovers, some fumbles, some bad penalties. But in the end, at the end of the day, overtime, then the victory. It's just they found ways. For the fourth time in a row, they've come back from behind. And they still have the league's best record. And we're going into a big matchup this weekend against the 49ers. So I know we missed the show the week before when we beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the same manner in which we were down by 10 points at the half, still managed to rally back. And these were two tough tests for the Eagles. Two great quarterbacks, Mahomes and Josh Allen. So, I mean, you're not going to find maybe Dak, if you want to put him in that category, but on the rest of the stretch down the stretch here, you're not going to see too many more quarterbacks of that caliber. But the team hung together. I don't know what Brian Johnson is doing. Sometimes we question some of his play calling. You know, there were some bad turnovers. There was a bad fumble. There was a pick on a screen pass that, you know, got us. They gave the Bills they scored 14 points off of those turnovers. But like I said, they were able to pull it off in dramatic fashion at the end. One with that 60-yard field goal at the end of regulation by Elliott to tie it. And then the defense showed up holding the Bills, who got the ball first, to a field goal. And then once the offense got the ball, we marched down the field and scored a touchdown with the walk-off touchdown in overtime. So you just get the sense that this team – it's kind of a team of destiny, but they're finding ways to win close games, hard-fought games, but they're winning against good teams. So it's going to be interesting in the last 6 games of the season to see how they fare. I heard that if they win this weekend. They have a 92% chance of getting the number 1 seed. The 49ers are coming into the link, with revenge on their mind from the playoff loss last year. And, I don't know what to make of this game. I think the 49ers have a very good defense on paper. They don't have a lot of injuries right now, but they haven't really played anybody. And they lost to some teams. They lost to the Bengals. They lost to Cleveland without their starting quarterback. And then they lost to the Vikings, who we beat. So it's going to be hard to gauge what Philadelphia's team shows up. And, we can't get down on the 49ers like we did against these other teams. I think our luck will run out if we just hold it to that. But you get a sense that the Eagles are playing with a chip on their shoulder, being, not being favored. The 49ers are favored by 3 in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia has the best record. So if there's anything that can motivate them to do something in this game and to set the record straight, because this would be a big statement game if the Eagles are able to pull this one off against the other top team in the NFC. So we'll see how it plays out. I like our offensive line. I like the quarterback. I like our wide receivers. We don't have our tight end, but, the offense should be able to move the ball. The 49ers defense is pretty stout. But then on the defensive side of the ball, that's where we have some question marks. Our secondary has been very inconsistent. Our linebackers are banged up. And, of course, our front 4 haven't really been able to get after the quarterback. They were having a hard time getting Josh Allen down, but they eventually got to him and made some plays. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes when they played Kansas City. So it's going to be interesting. I hope they pull it off. I'll be there at the link to see me and my brother, but we'll see how it plays out. Todd, I don't want you anywhere near the link. I don't want you anywhere near the
Wait. First off, why did you say you and your brother? So that's so Todd couldn't go. And then why did you say, Todd, I don't want you anywhere near the link?
Todd is the quintessential fair-weather fan, Eagles fan. You don't have a lot of fair-weather Eagles fans, by the way, because we tend to be more committed. But Todd, I don't know, man. You over here playing around, talking about Penguins and all that stuff. We got to be razor-sharp focused for this victory on Sunday. I don't need any distractions. I don't need any Serena. I don't need any of that stuff. We need to be focused that we're going to take this one and get this second Super Bowl. All right. And I don't know. I don't want any distractions or detractors from that situation.
No, I'm not a distraction. Todd. I just thought that the Eagles did pretty well. I thought they needed a few more forwards in there. And they needed probably a couple of third basemen. But other than that, they did pretty good.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not even going to talk about the Sixers now. Hey, they spanked the Lakers by 44.
Go right to the Sixers.
Good. They're looking pretty good, even though the coach had to stop.
How often does that happen? How often does that happen?
Hey, it doesn't happen very often, but it was a great weekend for Philly sports. You got Sixers pulling out. Now, I will have to say rest in peace to my Philadelphia Union. They lost to Cincinnati 1-0. That's the soccer team, Todd and Keith, because I know you guys don't follow sports. They were in the playoffs and they lost. All right, they didn't make it to the semifinals. They made it to the semifinals the last 2 years, but they didn't make it this year. So that being said, it was an okay Thanksgiving weekend, but the Eagles won, and of course the Sixers won on Monday. So I'm feeling pretty good about Philadelphia sports this past weekend. We'll see what's going on this weekend, but like I said,
or do you want to go back to Aaron Rodgers coming back to in week 13 to the Jets and what that'll look like?
All right, so they basically gave him a practice window designation. So they opened up the 21-day practice window. We kind of all anticipated this happening, but the conspiracy theorists out there thought that the Jets would be in a position to make a run, and then Aaron Rodgers would come back in and save the day. But the Jets really aren't even in the playoff conversation at this point. Now, Buffalo losing does put a different stamp on that. You may see Aaron Rodgers in the last week or two of the season, but at the end of the day, what are they really trying to do? The best thing they can do is just save him for next year. Hopefully it won't come back the way it did this year, in which, he got knocked out in the first game. That really sucks. But yeah, it's a good news story in the sense that Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. He's resilient, but I highly doubt that we'll see him play or suit up for the rest of the year.
Okay, so let's look at this NFL standings in the AFC East. I know Todd doesn't know what the AFC East means, but if you look at this, you'll see the Dolphins, the Bills, the Jets, and the Patriots. The Jets are 4-7. They are not in the hunt for the playoffs.
Red October.
Then
Yeah, and the AFC East was supposed to be one of the more competitive divisions this year. But the Bills, even though they lost to the Eagles, they had almost 500 yards worth of total offense and had 4 touchdowns. It's the first time almost in history that a team has had amassed that type of statistics and still lost. So they're a very dangerous team. But you can see the Dolphins are up 3 games on them with 6 games left. So they basically have to kind of win out, and the Dolphins have to stumble a little bit for them even to think about winning the division. They're really hunting for a playoff spot. And you can see the Jets right now at 4-7. They're looking for a wild card spot. And the Jets, they're at 4-7. Statistically or mathematically, they're still in the playoff hunt, but realistically, looking at their schedule, they got it. Of course, they already split with the Bills, and I think they've lost already to the Dolphins. So it's going to be an uphill climb for them to make the playoffs as well. Excuse me.
All right, let me continue. I know you're bored because it's not the Eagles. The AFC West, you see the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers, with the Chiefs leading the pack, but still quite far behind the Philadelphia Eagles, Aguna.
Yeah, and of course the Chiefs are in the tops, are trying to vie for the number 1 seed in the AFC with Baltimore, and you'll see with Baltimore and I think the Jags at this point. But the interesting thing about the West is Denver. Denver is a 5-game winning streak. I think they won 5 in a row, including beating Kansas City. So they're very much in the driver's seat with the wild card. And, you have Russell Wilson. His resurgence is a big news story for them. Raiders and the Chargers. Chargers being one of the most disappointing teams this year. And the Raiders, of course, will continue to be the Raiders. So we got
all right, let's continue with the AFC North. The Ravens are heading them up 9-3, ending out with the Cincinnati Bengals. Aguna.
Yeah, so you got the Ravens again. This is that top seed right now. They're the number 1 seed. They're going to be battling with the Dolphins and of course Kansas City. But then you have the Steelers and the Browns. Now the Steelers, their offense has been kind of up and down. The Canada guy, they got rid of their offensive coordinator. They kind of bounced back with a big win. But they're still kind of this midi of the road. Mike Tomlin always finds ways to win. I don't think he's ever had a losing season, but so they're still right there in the wild card race. They control their own destiny. The Browns being interesting enough with Deshaun Watson being injured for the year. Even though their defense is kind of carrying them, they had that tough loss this past weekend. But again, they're still in the driver's seat from a playoff perspective. And one of the other disappointing stories of the year has been Joe Burrow's Cincinnati Bengals, in which at this point, they really aren't going to be a viable contender at all this year, especially with Joe Burrow being done for the year. So we'll see. Even though I love Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they got some really good receivers and names in Cincinnati. But once again, this is not going to be their year with those injuries.
They're called Bengals, as in Bengal Tiger, Cincinnati Bengals.
They're called the Bungles because they always bungle their opportunity.
Aguna, let's go to the number 1 team in the league, the Philadelphia Eagles. Cousin Todd, just be quiet while Aguna talks.
Right. And so this is where we get into it. We got 6 games left. If we win, depending on which of the 6 that we win, especially these next 2 games, we're going to be able to pretty much lock up that number 1 seed, which is what we're looking to do. So,
and the number 1 seed
we got the Cowboys, the 49ers, the top teams. We'll see what we're made out of.
So the number 1 seed for Cousin Todd means they have it. The Eagles will have an advantage for playing what? Home games? For what will they?
Yeah, you get a first round bye. So you get the top seed, the number 1 seed. You get a first round bye, and of course you get a home field advantage.
Which means what? What does that mean for Cousin Todd?
That means everybody has to come to the link. They got to come down Broad Street. They got to come down there. Xfinity Live, Citizens Bank, Wells Fargo. They got to come there. Everything comes through there as long as we keep winning. Right. So that's going to be another Broad Street. It's going to be another party in Broad Street if we can pull this thing out. So
does that also mean they get an extra week off?
They get a first round bye. So they're the number one seed is since they changed the playoff format where instead of what they had used to be 12 teams, now they're 14 teams go because they had that extra number 7 seed. They got an extra wild card team because the NFL just wants to make so much money and keep things relevant. So we'll see. That first round bye is always good, and particularly when you go into the playoffs because you need to get rested and position yourself well to make that run.
Right. Now, NFC West.
Yes.
Aguna, the Niners, Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals.
Yeah, the Niners, again, that is the question. Who's the top team in the NFC? Right now, we have the best record, but looking at paper, they think the 49ers is the better team. So that's going to be part of that question is going to be answered on Sunday when they come to Philadelphia. You got the Seahawks in there. They're playing Dallas tomorrow. So, again, you got 2 wild card teams going at it. And I think they're heading in both different directions. Geno Smith, who's a quarterback for the Seahawks, has been injured, and he looked pretty bad against the Niners over the Thanksgiving day on Thanksgiving. So, the Cowboys definitely are going to be confident playing tomorrow. It's another Thursday game for the Cowboys. They're playing in Dallas, and Dallas hasn't lost in Dallas. I think they have like a 10-game winning streak. In fact, this year they haven't even trailed in Dallas. Now, granted, they played some really sorry teams. So a lot of these delusional Cowboy fans think that they're better than what they actually are. So the Seahawks will be probably one of their biggest tests. And that ain't even saying much because look at the Seahawks record. So even if the Seahawks lose, they'll be at 500, and Dallas will still hasn't beaten a team with a winning record. So we'll see what happens. Philadelphia is going to go in there 2 weeks from now. So that's going to be another big game. And so we'll see who the real cream of the crop of the NFC is in these next 2 weeks. So it's going to be some pretty fun football over the next couple of weeks.
All right, let's look at the the NFC North with the Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, what up, though? So those Detroit, these guys, they really blew a big chance on Thanksgiving, losing to the Packers at home. Same old Lions. They've been up and down. If you think but prior to this, they were definitely in the conversation of having the number 1 seed. Looking at the schedule on paper, going against these other NFC North contenders or division rivals, they seem to be the team of destiny there. But they blew it against the Packers. And now what you see is the Packers resurging. You see the Vikings are resurging. Well, they were resurging until Monday night. They lost to the Bears. So then again, this division is like one of these divisions where you're like, it looks good because it looks like you got maybe 2 or 3 wild card teams, and you got possibly a number 1 seed. But when you look at it, if the freaking Vikings can't beat the Bears, and then the Packers beat the Lions, it's like it's flip-flop, right? And they all play each other down the stretch. So you're not going to know what you get out of this division until the end. But definitely looks like the Lions are going to be for the number 3 seed, and the Vikings and the Packers are going to be vying for the wild card in the playoffs. So we'll see.
Maybe. Okay, we don't know. Oh, it's so up in the air with them. This is the most fun bunch we have this year. It's anybody's game right now because look at the quarterbacks go out, players go out. Kirk Cousins goes out, but Dobbs does really well, and all of a sudden he can't beat Chicago. That was a tragedy. That was a real tragedy because he had so much to play for because the Lions had just lost on Thursday, and that would have been great for them. But now everything is so tight. We don't know who's going to win this division. It's most of my life.
He blew it.
So let me move on.
Oh, he did.
Let me move on to the NFC South with the Dirty Birds and the Falcons. Nobody wants to hear your comment, Cousin Todd. Nobody wants to hear anything you have to say about football, Cousin Todd. Now, the AFC South with the Falcons is really unusual for them. If you look at the NFC South, the Falcons, the Saints, Buccaneers, and Panthers, they're all winning only a maximum of 5 games for a 12-week season. How is that, Stephen?
Boy,
put it back on this. Put it back on the screen.
Stephen doesn't know anything about sports. You want me to help
Stacey
you?
is censoring.
No, it's hey, this is wide open as well. This is fun, but it's not as fun for me because it doesn't involve the Packers and Minnesota and the Lions, and this is these. I've never really rooted for any of these teams here in this division, but it is very competitive, and it could go any way. The Buccaneers have a good chance, except the Panthers are out. But I guess I would go with the Falcons. They've impressed me just a little bit more. They got a pretty good defense. They're just a little bit. I put this all up in the air.
This is like a race to the bottom in this division. These guys, all these guys suck, and they suck for the last 20 years. I can say all this. I got my brother-in-law who's a big time Falcons fan, and he even says, he's like, I'm like, the Falcons are number 1 in your division. Aren't you excited? He's like, no, they stink. We don't have a quarterback. We got a good running back, but then the defense is inconsistent. Somebody has to win this division, right? Right now, the Falcons, Saints, somebody's got to win, right? So I think the Saints are probably the best team in this division. However, they have a lot of injuries. Derek Carr is not 100%. You got all this up and down. Kamara's been in and out. Thomas is trying to work himself back in there. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on there in New Orleans. But, the bad part about it is whoever wins this division more than likely is going to end up playing the Dallas Cowboys in the first round of the playoffs. And, knowing what we know about this division and how all these teams stink, more than likely the Cowboys are probably going to win that game. Right. So now what you have is like, who is going to be cannon fodder for the Cowboys? Right. Is it going to be the Bucks? Is it going to be the Saints? Now, I will say the Bucks have a higher upside if they can get some of their injuries out from underneath. The same thing with the Saints. But the Falcons, man, that quarterback, Riddle or Ryder, what's the name of that quarterback down there? And I know Ross is on the show right now, but he really sucks. He turns the ball over. I mean, the Saints just were. I mean, they were trying to battle to see who was going to lose that game. They were trying both to lose the game, right? And, of course, the Falcons pulled it out. But all that being said, somebody's got to win this division. I'm thinking it may be the Saints if they can just get healthy a little bit. I really don't have a lot of confidence in the Falcons. But the Bucks could be dangerous if they can get their act together. But you can see they only got 4 wins on the year. So it's like, what are we really even talking about here?
I'll take the Falcons because the Saints have lost 2 in a row. And the Falcons have just won one.
One of them being to the Falcons. But the Saints have injuries. So if they get healthy and they get hot,
I don't think the Buccaneers can beat.
But at the end of the day, who cares?
Who cares? They're not going to win a game. So in the playoffs.
They're not going to win a playoff
edgewise.
Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Todd, Ludacris came down from the ceiling during the Falcons game. Maybe you care about that.
No, I care more about the LA Bears. If they can just get a good outfielder, I think they have a good chance.
Left field or right field?
Yeah, you're on one today, Todd. You're on one.
We're going left field.
Let's go on to college football. That big game, Ohio State versus the Michigan Wolverines. That is a very big rivalry between Michigan Wolverines and Ohio State, with Michigan beating. Anyone want to talk about that game? Cousin Todd?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I think the Dodgers can take both of those teams.
In baseball, you're probably right. If they played baseball.
What? Baseball? Yeah. Who's talking about baseball?
I don't know.
You.
Okay. Aguna.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I would give Todd an A for effort, but definitely ridiculous.
That really wasn't an effort.
Great game. That was a good game. Michigan pulled it out, and we kind of felt that whoever lost that game would definitely be out of playoff contention, which Ohio State is. But we'll see. I mean, with Harbaugh, all the controversy around Harbaugh, it was good to see Michigan rally around themselves and pull it off. I mean, I know Ohio State has been good for so long, and sometimes you just get tired. You want some new blood in the playoff picture and the playoff discussion. And I had my late uncle, he was a real big Michigan fan. So, I tend to lean towards Michigan in these types of situations. But we'll see what happens. Because if they play Georgia, I don't know if they're going to be able to get that one. But I think with Michigan and Georgia are the two teams I really agree should be in the playoffs. Some of those other ones, Washington and Florida State, I think I know you haven't gotten to that one yet, Stacey, but yeah, the four teams that are going to the playoffs, it's almost like Georgia they just should skip the playoffs this year and just have Michigan and Georgia play for the title.
Okay. Stephen, did you want to comment before I pull up the NCAA football standings?
Yeah, real quick with Michigan, they found a way to bring attention to themselves in other ways that you could cheat, and then they found a way to cheat that nobody was watching when they played against Ohio. So that's why they won the game. They were real smart about it. The coach didn't get to stand on the sidelines during a couple of games. Who cares? It's real smart about it. But they found a way to cheat with this game. They found a way to win, and that got them in. So I mean, that's a coach. That's an organization right there that knows the meaning of winning. They know that war. It's just, it's almost just like a war. There's no rules. There's no rules. You got to do what you got to do. Everybody, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I mean, that's the way it is. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And if you're not winning, you ain't staying around very long. I don't care what you're doing. You got to try to cheat a little bit sometime, but be as ethical as you can. But these people out here, this is a blood and gut sport. This is what it is, and they got to do what they have to do. Everywhere, like baseball. Look at baseball when they were smashing trash cans to get the signals. I mean, this happens. We're not naive.
Well, that's
these things happen.
America is cheat. It's acceptable.
All right, so let me share the screen. We're trying to get we have a visitor on Earl, but Earl isn't showing. Oh, here he is.
How you doing, Earl? How you doing, Naz?
Okay, welcome to SPORLITIKS, where sports and politics mix and mingle. Earl, we're talking about college football. We're looking at the rankings right now. Earl, did you want to comment, or let me let Aguna and Stephen come in, and then I'll bring Earl in. If you look at these rankings from, and I know this will be a little bit confusing to Cousin Todd, but the
no, it's not.
AP Top 25, the college football playoff rankings. You see Georgia and Michigan that we just talked about beat Ohio State, and then you see Washington, Florida State, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, of course. Penn State came in 10, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, LSU 13, Notre Dame and Tulane down in 17 with Oregon State hitting 20, Clemson 23, and James Madison and SMU coming out at 25. What I don't see here is Deion Sanders' team, Colorado.
Cheney University.
Or my alma mater, Cheney University, or my alma mater, George Washington University. I don't see them either, but so start with the
Deion headline has come and gone.
The Deion headline has come and gone. And Gunnar, what do you say about what say you about these rankings?
Well, yeah, these rankings are predictable based on the fact that these are the only undefeated teams. And now there may be an argument to be said that some of those one-loss teams should be in the conversation, but again, we only have 4 playoff slots. So once they expand it to 6 next year, it may be a different conversation. But right now, Ohio, every game is like a playoff game, and you knew whoever won that Michigan-Ohio State game would be out of luck when it came to the playoffs, and that's how they played out. Now I think we still have the SEC title game, correct? We still got the SEC title game coming up. I think Alabama's going to play Georgia, and
that's going to be good.
I still think Georgia got them. I mean, Alabama, you saw what they did against your Auburn Tigers, right? It took a miracle for them to pull that off, and again, Alabama ain't the same Alabama. But if these teams hold true, the only team I would put an asterisk next to is that Florida State. Because I know they got the record. but that quarterback being injured, it'll be hard pressed for them to beat Georgia without their starting quarterback. That's just my opinion. I mean, it'd be hard enough to beat Georgia with your starting quarterback, let alone without him. So they're just taking, I mean, you could throw a Texas in there. Hell, I would love to see Ohio State, Georgia. You know, there could be some really good matchups there, except for Florida State. But the record is what it is. So next man up, we'll see what happens.
Steven.
Well, I think they probably should just give the trophy to Georgia right now. And I think the people that are pretty much positioned where they are should be where they are. And maybe you can make an argument here or there, but it doesn't matter the further down you go. So yeah, I think Georgia's. You can't foresee anything bad happening to anybody. But as everything stands right now, I don't think anybody's standing in front of Georgia to win it all. So if you want to do a future bet, it's not a bad way to go. You might not make, you might get the best odds because I'm not alone in saying this, but if you lose a game, it's so close. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if Laguna is. I'm looking forward to next year. We go to 6. It would be a lot better. There's so many teams out there, and
I'll add some more parity there because once you start getting, especially some of these conferences with strong teams like the SEC. You get one loss and it's like, man, you're out of the whole conversation, knowing that you would be the better team in any of these other conferences. So, yeah, it would be cool next year when it goes to 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I get a comment from Earl? Earl, you want to talk about the rankings and what you foresee in these playoffs or bowl games for the NCAA college football?
You can look at recruiting, you can look at facilities, you can look at the hundreds of millions of dollars spent by these universities who you see at the top, and you can kind of predict who's going to be there. So, this stuff is not surprising. It's kind of similar to test scores for high schoolers and middle schoolers when you see children who come from poor economic backgrounds without support, without the real fundamentals behind them to really compete with the other people, and then the other people who have all the resources, of course, they're going to predictably have better scoring. So we should not expect George Washington or Cheney University or any of those other schools like that to compete against football factories where the highest state employee is usually a football coach in these states that we're talking about. So Georgia, Florida, Texas, Alabama. And I'm making this analogy just to get people to understand when you talk about why are these kids in Chicago test scores so low? And then you compare it to football and you see where you put the resources is where you get the outcomes. So yes, Georgia is probably going to beat everybody. We spend a poor nation's GDP on football in Georgia. So yes, we have the football team that's probably going to win. They're going to expand the playoff to 6 next year and then probably 16 after with a new TV deal. So this is all about revenue. And to finally close this ridiculous analogy that I used that hopefully some people will get, the University of Arkansas some years ago fired their head coach because he had a relationship with a student on campus, and taking her home from a date, he fell off a motorcycle and broke his neck. He has now been rehired 5 years later, resume cleaned, and he is now rehired to be their offensive coordinator for $150,000.
No, that's okay.
That is what college football is. That's the University of Arkansas.
I mean, what's wrong with that?
Well, there we go. What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
Well, aren't college kids over 18?
Well, listen to these crazy people practicing pedophilia.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just asking.
Generally speaking, they're over 18, but sometimes 10-year-olds go to college.
That's an imbalance of power.
Oh boy.
Oh brother. Here we go.
Yeah, you don't get that. So I want to move on to Ahmaud
Wait,
Arbery.
Stacey just jumped right off of that. This is a man taking advantage of a young girl, which you supposedly hate.
Well, I do hate that. I think it's outrageous, but what do you want me to do? Say that it's horrible? It's horrible.
Yeah,
what do you want me to do?
Something. I want you to say something out loud.
Really? Okay.
I want you to do a chant. You want you to start a chant.
I think it's sexist. I think it is probably common for a sport like football to see that type of thing happen. And Arkansas should be ashamed of themselves.
Did he rape her?
You see that?
Great question from Keith. So the man's name is Bobby Petrino, and just to give the full context of this, he was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Things weren't going well. He was going to get fired. So he jumped ahead of the firing by taking the head job at the University of Arkansas in the middle of the night and did a press conference and did Pig Sweet on TV. And the next day, the Falcons did not have a coach. So he gets to Arkansas, and that's where we get to that ridiculous story that I just told you, where he had a relationship with a co-ed, and he fell off a motorcycle, broke his neck. Police came. He ended up getting fired, and he goes and coaches down the level until the heat dies down, and now Arkansas brings him back as the OC. So there's your story about Bobby Petrino.
But he really hurt your feelings. It was like you're a jilted lover. When he left your team, you were just devastated. So you've carried a grudge ever since that happened. I understand that, man. That's a real football fan right there, guys.
That's what you took from that story? Thank you.
Yeah, that's what he took from it. A jilted lover.
So
That's like a jilted. He left us for a college team, for a younger team.
And here's the picture of the coach and the young lady that Earl is referring to.
One of the funniest stories in the history of college football, because of course he was trying to figure out how to save his job as he's laying in a ditch with a broken neck, and he came up with a lie about how somebody ran him off the road, and CCTV cameras and eyewitnesses and everything came to front, and he ended up having to walk back all the lies and get fired. So this was a man who left in disgrace. And now Arkansas is so thirsty to win again, man. They went and got Bobby back. So Bobby Petrino, American.
Everybody deserves a second chance, I think.
This is his third.
Was he in a race?
Oh no, he can walk. Yeah, he can walk.
Did he get a trial? Did he go to jail? Did he was it rape? What happened?
He's white, dum-dum.
So he's not allowed to make mistakes.
No, but you
Keith,
never.
You need worse. What part of the story doesn't disturb you?
He got his job back.
We're wasting valuable time on Stacey.
Okay, yeah, we are wasting time.
All right.
I do want to move on.
I'm sorry, man. I couldn't tarnish Bobby's reputation enough for you, Keith.
Had an affair with a young.
He hates him. That's personal. You got some personal. I get it, man. You got personal feelings for him. I get it, man. I don't blame you.
I suggest you check social media and just search his name and read what's been said.
Oh, they don't.
He did you dirty. He did you dirty.
The funniest thing all day, man.
Keith,
I know. I think it's hilarious.
All you said was,
why don't you go out on a date with a young white girl and see what happens to you?
All you said was he had an affair with a young girl.
He is married.
Come on.
He was a married man, the head football coach. This was a student. You cannot have a relationship with a student,
right?
Right. Now, even if she was 35, even if she was 35 years old, you can't have a relationship with her because it's not cool.
Honest question.
She wasn't 35, dum-dum.
No, I'm saying even if she was 35, you're not supposed to be dating students.
I didn't mean to do
that.
No, say if she was 20. Say if she was 21, is it okay? If she was 35, if she was 16, it's not cool. But if she was of age, why is it not cool?
But that's not my question. Is not the moral question for once. All I'm asking is, was he prosecuted? Did he commit the crime, and was he prosecuted, and did he do time?
And the answer is
no. He did not go to jail.
He's white.
All right. So that's all I wanted to know. So
he did not go to jail because he's white, and white men don't go to jail. Keith, where do you live? You're not living in America, then.
All right, that's all I wanted to know. Jeez, because you said that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, man. My pastor told me things can be immoral but not illegal sometimes. I didn't know. That's right. I needed to explain that to you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
that's true.
So let's go to Ahmaud Arbery, and let me share my screen. Let's start with I'll start with a question.
Why don't you start with Stephen? You remember Ahmaud Arbery, Stephen? He's the one that
So-
you said he wants to be a hero. He should have just laid on the ground like the white boys told him to and do exactly what he was told.
Why don't we take race? Why don't we take race out of the equation and see if we can't just look at something objectively?
Because they
Well,
only
it's
did
kind
that
of the
because-
Ahmaud Arbery case. You really can't take race out of it.
I mean, you can. It just.
Well, let's
Do you
discuss
remember
what
the
it's
case?
about. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
I'm
Let's
saying.
discuss what it's about. Let's discuss what it's about. And it says
I
the
know what it's
judge
about.
rejects. No. This just came up a day ago. The
Yeah.
judge rejects the effort to dismiss the case against former DA charged in Ahmaud Arbery's killings aftermaths. So this DA was working with the man whose son shot Ahmaud Arbery. She had worked with him previously. He had gone to her,
he
told
was
her
a
what
police
happened.
officer.
Right. And he had gone to her, told her what happened. And she kind of moved it around so that he and his son wouldn't get arrested and charged with the killing. So the judge rejects her lawyer's offer to dismiss this case against her. So what did you want me to ask Stephen, Cousin Todd, about that and take race out of it? Cousin Todd, take race out of it, Cousin Todd, and just deal with what the DA did and
Okay.
why it was wrong.
Okay. You can't take race out of it because this was a racist act. So I know you're a Republican, but you can't take race out of it because the only reason he's dead is because of race. Surprise.
That's not true. That's your opinion. That doesn't make it true because
So
that's
what
your
was the
opinion.
point that you want to ask Stephen before I go on to
The,
Keith?
the point is, he thinks that these are racist people that killed him because he was black. He doesn't necessarily know that, and I don't believe that either. I don't know what
They
was.
said they were racist in court.
No, they did not.
Oh my God.
No, they did not. No, what that happened was if
Actually,
somebody,
they
no, I don't
did.
care what color,
Father.
Todd. I said at the time and I'll say it now. I don't care what color you are. If people have guns on you and they say get to your knees or lay on your stomach, you do what they say. I don't care who they are, Todd. You got a better chance of living. You're not Superman. You're not gonna beat up these guys with guns. You're not gonna rush a guy with a gun in his hand. And Keith, you'll back me up on this. Keith, if I'm holding a gun on you, are you gonna rush me? And no, the gun may go off and it may blow your freaking head off. It's the stupidest thing Arbery could have done. Arbery killed himself. It was suicide by cop is what that was. And I have so much sympathy for his family. I have sympathy for his family, but he killed himself when he rushed that man.
Okay, Stephen,
He
thank
killed
you.
himself.
No.
Now,
No, he was
Go
murdered
ahead, Cousin Todd.
He killed himself.
Go ahead, Cousin
He
Todd,
was
and then
murdered
Keith.
by citizens who weren't cops. You can't say
He killed
Okay,
himself.
wait a
No,
minute,
he
wait a
should
minute,
never
wait a
have
minute.
rushed him.
Wait a minute,
They had no
Aguna, wait a
authority
minute.
to do what
Cousin,
they did.
wait a
It
minute,
doesn't
Aguna.
matter.
Cousin
Put
Todd.
your
It does
hands
matter.
up.
It's called
Go-
breaking
no.
the
Cousin
law.
Todd.
It's called
It's called
breaking
put
the
your
law.
hands up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cousin
No, they're not authority. They had no authority.
Put your
Okay.
hands
Okay,
up.
Cousin Todd.
I got a gun in your face. Put your hands
Stephen
up.
won't stop. Stephen won't stop.
They're
He keeps
criminals.
repeating the same
They're
thing
thugs.
over and over again.
You're attacked by
Now,
thugs.
in the beginning, Ahmaud was jogging, and these cars were running him off the road. Stephen didn't believe that, and probably still doesn't. He's
Not
sick.
true.
And so,
It's not true. Not true.
That's why they went to jail.
No, it's not.
They
oh,
were
he's
convicted.
beyond.
Go
Okay,
ahead, Cousin Todd. Todd, you
They
stop
went to
with the
jail
long
because of
calls.
We don't have
Stop
to
with the
because
long
of
calls,
political
Cousin
heat.
Todd.
We don't have to
Because
put
of
on
political
Stephen.
heat.
Stop with the long calls.
They're
We
Because
keep
of
talking.
political
Todd,
heat, they
keep
went to
talking.
jail. Because that's where the politics
You
was.
can't
They went to
mute
jail.
him.
They were tried.
Mute
and They're
him.
in jail. Whatever Stephen is saying is just nonsense.
okay. So now
Okay.
he was being chased, and he didn't know why these cars were trying to run him off the road. And see, the racists had already thought up this plan to chase him this way and somebody chase him that way, and then have them run directly into us. And then we will tell them, get on the ground. And anyway,
Get on the ground.
nobody should do that.
No, get on the ground.
Nobody should shut up. Nobody should be able to. This is a stupid citizen. He is no longer a cop.
You're stupid.
To make somebody get on the ground. Now, we used to listen to white people that told us get on the ground, but we found out we were dying. Like, for example, Stacy, can you come up with any names? Cheney,
Emmett Till.
Emmett Till. Do what we tell you to do, and you'll be fine.
No, they didn't tell him to do. They didn't tell Emmett Till to do what they told him to do.
They did.
Yeah, they did. They told him to come with them.
You
don't even know the
you are
story,
an
man.
idiot.
Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Anyway,
You know what?
So we don't
we can
do
name.
that.
But
We learn better.
You can name everybody that got
Okay,
killed. What
wait,
I'm saying is,
Go to the
you
gift
don't
shop.
run up. You don't
Go
run up
to
on
the
a
gift
gun.
shop and get a
Okay,
pass.
You
so what
don't
Stephen-
run up on a gun. Somebody holding a
What
gun.
Stephen is saying, stop. What Stephen is saying, don't run up on someone with a gun, and that's the point he's making. Each situation, I think, Stephen, you're saying with Emmett Till and with the other civil rights workers in Georgia who were killed, you're saying that's different. Is that correct?
100%. Of course, all of that's different. This man. This man killed himself.
No,
Yes, you
have a
do have the right to defend yourself, but you're not going to beat a gun.
He didn't know who
So,
they
Aguna,
were. They had no authority
Aguna, let
to
me
do what
ask
they
you this.
did.
You're
Aguna,
not
let
going
me
to beat
ask
a
you this.
gun.
They're under attack. It's either fight or flight.
Aguna,
No,
Aguna.
It's fight or flight. And
Excuse me.
Stacy
Stop this
Stacy
nonsense that
took
they should have
biology in
white guys
college.
told them to
Hey,
do.
I can understand. I agree
about
with y'all.
fight or
Those
flight,
guys, let's say
Stacey.
they're bad guys. Let's say they're KKK. Let's say they voted for Joe Biden. Let's say they're Democrats. I agree with you. But
There
they
you go.
didn't
This is gonna negate his
force
whole
him.
point.
They didn't put a gun to his
Why
head.
is he still
They didn't put a gun to his head to
What
make
is the
him
point of
run.
this?
To make him run
What's
to
the
the
point
guy
of this?
holding the gun. He got in a wrestling match with the guy holding the
What
gun,
is
and
the
the gun
point of
went
this?
off,
They
and he
blocked
got
his
shot.
path, Stephen.
The
What
other
is
guy
the
could have
point
got
of
shot.
this? Why
Y'all
are we
aren't even
listening to
taking
this
it
idiot?
clearly because you only see the color of his
He was
skin
trying
and
to
not
run
what
away.
actually happened.
Why
Listen
are
to
they
this
even
dumb
bothering
All
him?
they
You're
saw
like
was
you're
the
trying to
color
Okay,
of
blame
thank you.
the victim for trying to
Okay,
get
wait.
away and
Okay,
escape.
thank
Hey,
you.
That's
Aguna,
ridiculous.
Aguna,
It's
let's do it on
asinine.
air one
Asinine.
day. I'll come to your
It's
house.
asinine
I'll hold a
too.
gun on you. Aguna, I'll hold a gun on you.
I'm running in my neighborhood.
I'll hold a
I'm
gun
going
on
down
you
the
and you
street,
come and try
block
to
my
take the gun
path,
away from
pull
me.
a gun on me in my path, and I'm supposed to just do what you told me to do.
Yeah, if I pull a gun on you, Aguna, if I pull a gun on you, what are you going to do? Are you going to rush me? Are you going to bum rush me? Are you going to rush me,
Okay.
Aguna? No,
Okay.
you're not.
Okay, you guys have to
Aguna,
stop.
you're
All
not
right.
stupid.
I tried.
They
Wait,
attacked
I tried to go over it step by
tried to
step with
defend
you all,
yourself.
but you
Fight
guys go
or
on and on
flight.
and on. Let me
Try
get
to-
I mean,
Keith
this
in.
guy,
Keith,
for some reason, he wants to blame the victim for these thugs attacking him for no
They
reason.
didn't
You can't
attack
do
him.
that.
They were
You're-
far away
you're
from
just as
him.
bad as the
He
thugs.
ran to them.
They tried
He
to
ran
defend him.
into their
You're just as
arms.
bad as those
He
thugs.
ran into their
Those
arms,
thugs.
which were
From
their
Kamala.
guns. He
Stephen
ran into their arms. He was
he drove
stupid.
their cars in front of himself.
Stupid.
He
Don't
drove
be
the car in front of himself.
okay, I can't go on like this. I can't go on like this.
But you need to call a spade a spade. This dude is
Yes,
this
Stacey.
Well,
Yahoo
I'm
on
trying
the
to, but
show
you guys
is
are
sitting-
talking. But you're
Fuck.
talking over me. I can't even call it because you're going back and forth with them. I can't say anything.
Well,
But,
we have to shut down
Keith-
stupidity quickly. We got to shut down
Keith.
stupidity.
Okay, so Keith and then Earl and then Aguna. Anybody can walk. I've walked down the street. I've seen an empty home. I may go up to the window, look in there, and see that they're building it.
Stephen did
What
the
makes-
exact same thing.
What
But he
makes
was
it
white.
wrong for me to go and look at a home they're building in the neighborhood to see what they're building, just to look at it? What's wrong with that, Keith?
Well, I don't see anything wrong with it, but the only problem is the neighbors didn't think of it that way. So,
And who are
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunate. It's
It's
Who are they?
unfortunate. Is that what you call it? Unfortunate.
very unfortunate.
Don't
Yeah.
you call it racist?
Yeah, when you walk around in somebody else's property, it's a very dangerous thing, because you don't know what's there. So you got to be
Okay.
careful.
So
And
let
they
me bring
could've
in.
Did
called
you
the
hear
police.
him
They could've
just
done
spin
any
it
number
and
of
blame the
things. They attacked.
victim?
Let me bring in Earl, and then Aguna.
Yeah. So what was the initial question? We're just talking about the
The initial
sentencing or
question-
them.
We were originally talking about, and let me add this
Then they
in
tried to
here. If
cover
you
it
can
up.
look at it.
The whole point is they tried
Jackie-
to cover it up with this DA.
Her
Mhm.
name was Jackie Johnson, district attorney. Here she is in a picture. And Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, she was campaigning for re-election on St. Simon's Island, Georgia. A Georgia judge currently refuses to dismiss misconduct charges against the former prosecutor, Jackie Johnson, accused of hindering the investigation into the 2020 killing of Ahmaud Arbery. So is this justice for the Arbery family?
Honestly, the only justice would be is if he was still alive. So no, there cannot be justice. Is this the system trying to do a self-correction on itself to weed out some of the corruption and racism that is ingrained within the system? Yes, because this lady should be prosecuted. She tried to stifle the case. They found out those people had a relationship to where, their families knew each other. And this was, old school, good old boy network type of situation where you had these ridiculous racists who we have on videotape, not only using slurs, but actively hunting another human being. And they tried to bake the case. Remember when the prosecutors talked about he didn't want any Al Sharptons and Jesse Jacksons down in their area because they showed up for the
he didn't want him in the courtroom. Yeah, he didn't want him in the courtroom.
Yeah, which is a ridiculous statement to begin with, but that kind of lets you know the tenor of that area or of the people he was trying to appeal to. Uncle Ruckus, shut up. Of the people he was trying to appeal to get that case cooked in the way that they did. But once this thing became national news and federal, and you get all the media looking into it, then you can't cover these things up in the way that you did Emmett Till. So, yeah, it's a good thing that the system is trying to correct itself. But no, it's not justice because Ahmaud Arbery is still gone. There's a great interview with his father where he gives this wonderful speech, not only about his son, but just that area and things he's seen.
Okay, thank you.
I'm a racist. I wouldn't want him either in the courtroom.
Yeah, following her indictment, Jackie Johnson turned herself in at the Glenn County Jail and was released without having to pay a cash bond. They were found guilty of murder, and at this time, she is trying to have her case thrown out. Is that justice? Is that fair?
I mean, this is called accountability. You're trying to hold people accountable for trying to cover up a murder by these thug vigilante white guys down here in Georgia. I mean, there was a time where people could look at this case and be like, okay, yeah, that's right. I mean, they shouldn't have done this. They're criminals. They're thugs. They need to be prosecuted the fullest use of the law. Now we're in a position, we're trying to blame the victim all of a sudden as if we need to comply with murderers and all these things, and if we don't comply with murderers, then all of a sudden it's the victim deserved to die kind of thing, and that's ridiculous. So you lose all credibility there. She should be held accountable. Not only did she try to cover it up, she tried to lie about it, and then through her sense of entitlement, she wants to get the case thrown out. I mean, how ridiculous is that? You tried to cover up, and they were tried and convicted, and rightfully so. So at some point, we as Americans need to just get our heads out our ass, Stephen, and just be like,
get your head out of my ass. Get your head out of my ass.
Nobody gives
Get your head out of my ass.
Oh, that is gross.
I know. That's why he keeps his head shaved so he can stick it in my ass.
Oh my
What the hell?
Yeah, well,
all right,
you know
Stephen.
what? It all comes out in the wash. Stacy, tell Stephen about fight or flight.
Fight or flight, Stephen.
There is, and I forgot the name of it, the parasympathetic system within our body requires that we fight or fly. We either stay or we go when we are faced with a situation.
Hey, Stacy. Stacy, can I ask you a question? If I come at you,
no, we don't want to hear your dumb question.
Rephrase the question to you.
If I'm holding, Stacy, if I'm holding, let me talk.
If I'm holding a can of suntan lotion,
you know why they don't want me to talk, Keith? You know why they don't want me to talk? Because they know they can't argue with me.
Okay.
They know they have no argument for me. If I was in that court, if I was a lawyer, those guys never would have went to jail.
If I was a lawyer,
they never would have went to jail because they committed no crime. Hey, Stacy, if I'm holding, Stacy, if I'm holding a gun on Keith and Keith runs towards me and the gun goes off,
shut up.
You know what? I got to shut up, man. If I'm holding a gun on you, are you going to run towards me? Are you going to run towards me? There's a reason you want me to shut up. It's because you You can't have a conversation about it. You don't have an argument for me. So you want me to shut up. And everybody knows it. You're a chump. You're a punk. Y'all are just punks who can't have an intelligent argument. I'm giving you an intelligent argument. You can't give me one. All you can say is shut up. Because you're Marxist, communist, huge. That's all you are. Y'all have nothing. You have nothing.
Over again.
Shut up, man.
What? So, Stacey, what I don't understand about Stephen's argument is the fact that he says, if I have a gun on you, like we should trust him as if the fact that he has a gun on us to begin with, we should somehow trust that he's not going to shoot us anyway. I mean, it's just the most asinine, retarded argument you
Are you going to run to me? Are you going to come to me when I'm holding a gun on you? Are you going to run towards me, Aguna? No, because you're not retarded. Nobody on this show is retarded. Nobody would run towards me if I have a gun on you, because you're not stupid. The man who died by...
Why do they have a gun on him to begin with? Why do they have...
Okay, thank you. George Santos. We're going to move on to George Santos. Please look at the screen. He is facing expulsion from the United States House of Representatives, according to thehill.com. That article written by Mike Lillis and Michael Schnell today at 6:40 p.m. Democrats say they won't bail Santos out this time around, sending a grim sign about him and his fate in the House of Representatives. Keith, why should George Santos be or remain and not be voted out from the House for what he has done?
Well, the statement that you made there, the Democrats say they won't bail Santos out.
Tell him what he's done. He doesn't know what he's done.
Will you let me answer the question the way I want to answer it?
Stacey has to tell you what he's done.
Thank you.
Why he's being expelled.
Mike, let me answer the question. She didn't tell me anything more than what she just said. So I'm going by I'm going to give an answer to what she asked.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. Because it would have been too much for you to read the story before the show.
Well, the Democrats say that they won't bail him out this time. So I find that's a very interesting statement. You know, if this guy's a Republican. So,
well, you deduce that. Good job.
Yeah, that's a very interesting statement. I mean, so that just leaves me to believe that this guy, they don't like this guy. He was a Republican, but the point is, if they bailed him out last time,
Sherlock Holmes over here figured out.
I'm wondering that
Republican.
Brings a red flag with me, Stacey. I really don't know what to say, because if they bailed him out the first time or other times, why is it that they are not going to bail him out this time? I mean,
so let me present the screen. According to this Politico.com article, they
did an investigation on him, and they found that. Go ahead.
The House Ethics Committee did it. Enough House Republicans and Democrats have determined that the damning Ethics Report Committee, which found sufficient evidence of criminal wrongdoing earlier this month, is enough to trigger his removal. And many Republicans are confident the vote will succeed. Stephen, should he be expelled? Because some of the things he did, Stephen, was to buy Hermes. He brought Hermes. He brought Hermes products for his personal self. He did what site did he go to, Cousin Todd?
He went to OnlyFans. And he paid OnlyFans.
Don't you have an OnlyFans site?
No, ma'am. Stephen does.
So in other words, he got caught. That's all. The rest of them don't get caught most of the time.
And he was getting Botox, and he was using this money for all kinds of personal things.
So he got caught.
So I had not heard, so Todd told me I had not heard of the OnlyFans site. And if you look at this Wikipedia page, it says the OnlyFans is an internet.
Stacey, everybody here knows what OnlyFans is, Stacey.
But let me say it for the fans. So I know my godmother's watching, and she's a seasoned soror of mine. I know she does not know what OnlyFans is, so I'll say it for her. OnlyFans is an internet content subscription service based in London, United Kingdom. The service is used primarily by sex workers. The service is used primarily by sex workers who produce pornography, but it also hosts the work of other content creators such as physical fitness experts and musicians. And this is according to wikipedia.com, as you can see. So I'm telling this for people who don't know, like I had no idea what OnlyFans was. So what did he do about OnlyFans, Cousin Todd?
So he got, no, he's got caught. That's all.
He was using campaign funds to pay for his OnlyFans excitement. And so now, Keith, do you still think he should be allowed to stay?
I never said that he should be allowed to stay. You never give me a chance to finish because
all you said was the Democrats. The Democrats let him
stay. I never said I wasn't fighting for him to stay. I said it was curious that the Democrats excused him for whatever he did before, and now all of a sudden now they're, you know,
it's curious that the other part, the opposition party, didn't help him. But that's curious to you.
The Democrats rarely agree with Republicans on anything. Therefore, since they all are in agreement, then I guess that's the way it should be. He's out.
So I think the agreement came, Stephen,
because they investigated him.
When they investigated him, and the ethics committee found out that he was spending money on himself for Botox and Hermès products and OnlyFans website and Lord knows what else. They found out that he was doing that and said, we want to vote him out. Stephen, were they correct? And should he stay just because he's Republican?
He's out. He's out. So can we go on with business?
No.
That's the question.
No, we have to discuss you sick Republicans paying OnlyFans for your thrills.
No. It's only the Republicans, right? Yeah, I know. So let's get them, you know, that's it.
Yeah, so let's talk about it.
Only should have by the gift shop. Should have went by the gift shop.
I know.
He's on mute.
I know. Only
you're on mute, man.
Okay, that was my fault. That was my fault.
But Stephen doesn't want to talk about this anyway. Go ahead.
No,
Stephen.
I mean, if he had, I don't fault him for the things that he had, like his beauty products or whatever he felt comfortable with, or whatever apps he went to, or what. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know anything else to do, but he should do it with his money. And if it turns out he's doing stuff that's not cool, and it goes against we the people, and if it's any politician, I don't care if it's the president of the United States or this cat. I don't care if they're independent. I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. I don't care who they are. If somebody that we depend on to be a good person is not a good person, then we ought to do things to remove these people, whoever it might be.
Even Donald Trump.
We don't
even Donald Trump, who paid a prostitute or a porn star with campaign funds.
He didn't do that. Donald Trump didn't do that. That's silly. That's just silly.
Great defense, sir.
No, that's not a great defense. That's really silly. I'll put $1 million on it that said he never did that. Anybody want to bet me? Put all your money together. Put all your money together, brother. Put all your money together, brother.
Together.
Put all your money together, brother.
I don't know what's up with you and his accents and his code.
Well, you guys must be very
what's in that?
Very disappointed in the American people because they support
Trump. Well, it's cold here. It's actually cocoa with little marshmallows.
No, not the American people. Just that faction of morons like you. But anyway,
he's got more of the black vote.
Earl, go ahead, Earl.
More blacks are coming over to Trump.
More blacks.
They don't matter.
Imagine a black man saying more blacks.
I know it.
African American.
Yeah,
you know that's right. He got more of that.
I can't wait till you get disappointed again.
One step closer to white man's heaven.
Oh boy, you're getting sleepless nights.
Man.
I know you guys hate that.
Hey, Keith, do you remember when the Tea Party was out and they didn't want black Republicans
That was funny.
No,
Remember that?
The
And
Republican.
you got mad because
I
they
don't
didn't
remember that.
want your help.
I don't remember
No.
what
That
year-
was
No,
I don't remember that either. I don't
That's
You
what
don't
happens
remember
with
that?
Stockholm syndrome. You
but
try to forget.
all I know is that
Helps you feel better.
he's got
who wouldn't
28%
want a
of the
voter?
black
Who wouldn't
vote
want
now.
voters?
Let's see,
A
5%.
voter?
Some people don't want your vote,
2020.
Steve.
Now the
Some
black
people
vote
don't
is
All
want
right,
your
one
vote.
at a
They rather
time.
suppress it.
Nobody can hear you all. They want to
When
hear
we
what you
can't,
have to
and we
say,
can't
but you
see
guys
Earl,
talk over each other.
if that's
the
his
black
real
vote.
name.
The black vote is going more towards Trump. So that's all I know. It is.
Yeah, you keep
And it's
doing your
just because you
polling.
say so. It's just because
I
you say
love
so.
The intelligent black vote. The intelligent
Oh,
black
man.
vote is going towards
Yeah,
Trump.
we're going to vote for a guy who's
Black
You
has
are
all
two
these
of the
cases.
dumbest people in
They-
this
Everybody
country.
They
says
hate
One at a time.
They
One at a
hate
time,
it.
please.
You know, you guys hate it. I know it. You're just upset about it.
I understand you
No,
have to
we know
ride
you're lying.
Trump
Oh,
at
of
every
course.
No, we
instance.
don't hate it.
But we were talking about George Santos, and you
Yeah.
injected Trump into it.
Yes, we were
Yes.
talking about George
I mean,
Santos.
Exactly.
and get rid of
Stop
Joe
riding
Biden.
them. Stop riding them, man. But
Get
anyway,
rid of Joe
Okay.
Biden.
no. But you know what? This is kind of appropriate though, because the George Santos story is about partisanship to the point of ignorance. So
Right, get rid of him.
people similar to people on this show who would just look at a ballot and just vote R all the way down, they didn't vet and look at who this person was. George Santos used that, amorphous name to confuse people about who he actually was. And when conservatives and Republicans actually found out about, the cross-dressing and him doing dressing and drag down in South America, they were like, wait a minute, who is this guy? And then they found out about all of the campaign finance and everything else. That's when they were really like, wait a minute, this guy tricked us to get into office by running as a Republican. So the party doesn't want him. And the Dems, who were enjoying a good chuckle just by having him as a representative of the Republicans, no, they're not going to save him either. But the Republicans don't want this guy either. So yeah, Keith and Stephen, look up tonight. You'll see this he has an extensive social media record of things that conservatives will not agree with. So this is just funny to me.
Very
That's what
good.
y'all get for
We
voting
don't-
R all the way
Thank
down.
you, sir.
It's funny that you think we're going to miss this guy. We don't care
I
about
don't
it.
think
If
you're
somebody-
going to miss him. I'm exposing that you people are too dumb not to look into candidates. You just vote for them because it's an R there, and that's what you got.
Maybe a lot of this didn't come out until, just a little while after he got voted in. Sometimes that happens. Maybe the Democrats didn't vet him enough. I don't know what happened.
Why would the Democrats vet him?
I never heard of him until this incident.
Why would the Democrats not vet him? They're going against him. You vet your opponent. What are you talking about?
You vet the person you're running.
You vet, you do the opposition work or whatever. You have to vet people. You have to vet both sides.
Why ain't the
Everybody needs
Democrats
to get
doing the
vetted.
Republicans' job?
Israel-Hamas war, the Biden administration let
Even
me
you were
share
trying
my
to make a point,
screen.
but you didn't quite
According
get there.
to
I made a pretty
thehill.com,
good point.
Aguna,
Well, the
Biden confirms second American hostage released by Hamas. This was written by The Hill by Alex Gangatano today at 5:56 p.m. How important, Aguna, is this for the Israel-Hamas interaction?
Honestly, it is just part of the chicken and just the cat and mouse game that's going on. I mean, the big thing is that there's a ceasefire in place and things are starting to subside a little bit. If there was still war going on or happening in the Gaza Strip, it would have been a lot harder for these conversations to happen and these releases to happen. Humanitarian aid's going in. So it's not, I wouldn't even call it a win-win in a sense of it's just trying to get back to the tense situation that it was before it just got all out crazy, right? And so you have on one side, you have, Israel who, is coming down with a hammer on Hamas and the Gaza Strip. And then you have, these accusations of human shields, humanitarian crisis, and everything like that. The longer that the conflict played out, the harder it is for the world to get behind or to support Israel because you have such just a humanitarian crisis going on. So they had to calm down. They had to stop. They had to at least let some of the aid in, and as well as let some of the hostages out. And then, of course, Hamas was using this as a bargaining chip anyway. You saw how many detainees were released by Israel in order to get this first wave of hostages released as well. So that was part of the plan anyway. A, to get, a hostage swap. B, to make Israel look bad. That's why, people say that you're either pro or against Israel. No, it's about being on the side of peace. Because the longer this type of conflict goes on, especially when you have such a huge disparity in the sides. I mean, you have Hamas, terrorist organization, whatever, on one side, and you have Israel as organized, one of the strongest armies in the world. And then in the middle, you have the Palestinian people who have to suffer on both sides. And, being in the West, you're supposed to be the ones that are trying to drive diplomacy and drive, be more humanitarian. And just wasn't playing out that way the longer the conflict took place. So I'm glad, the hostages are getting released, but it still it's still a far cry from being over based on what's going on in the West Bank, encroachment, all these other things that are happening. It's still just a blip in the radar of the larger conflict.
Well, Senator Durbin made a comment that, about how the Israel and Hamas war in Gaza should be on pause so that humanitarian relief can reach them and so that hospitals can continue to open up. Gaza was able to reopen a dialysis unit and reopen another part of the hospital. How important is that to Israel not being a war criminal by allowing Hamas and Gaza to open up those hospitals, Keith?
Well, it seems that this discussion always centers around Israel taking responsibility of not being aggressive. It's always Israel that borders on becoming the aggressor, when that's not the case at all. And I really resent all of these discussions around this, which are so deceptive, because even while colleges, some of our major Ivy League colleges, the students are turning against the Jews and intimidating Jews. I mean, I'm working within my community, as a matter of fact, with the Jewish community. I'm working with them now to try to offer and do self-defense training for the Jews. And this is very important that we understand that the Jews are not the aggressors here. They want peace, but when they speak, the other side wants war. And it's only a matter of time before Hamas attacks again. It's not about them holding hostages, trying to get, a peaceful agreement to some kind of two-state solution or what have you. That's not going to happen. They don't want that. They want Israel's destruction. When are people going to understand that? People are blind. And nothing, I guarantee you, because I won't get a chance to say this again, nothing happened before October 7th. And Stephen, I'm sure you could verify this with me, because the rest of them are going to agree. But before October 7th, there was no protest, no violence. There was nothing.
That's not true.
Talking about Hamas and Gaza. I didn't see
That's
it.
not true. There are rocket attacks all the time. There's encroachment on land in the West Bank. You just haven't followed the You're just saying that.
Those Jews were going into mosques.
I'm talking about the colleges.
Jews were going into where?
You're talking about here?
Yes. We were talking about
here in the U.S.
And yes, we weren't talking about U.S.
So
we were talking about Israel.
Let me make sure I'm trying to understand your point. You're mad at the American reaction to what's going on in the Middle East.
That's right.
That's what you're pontificating about. It's like, how dare these college kids in this global society or in the U.S. Turn against Israel.
America is displaying more anti-Semitism than I've ever seen in my lifetime.
That's the first thing. Let's be clear. Just because you're saying they're saying Israel shouldn't bomb the Gaza Strip, that doesn't mean you're anti-Semitic. That doesn't mean that. You're trying to conflate the two.
We're saying,
let's have a cease. If I'm saying let's have a ceasefire, am I being anti-Semitic?
Yeah.
Look, the ceasefire is not going to.
That's the problem. No,
I'll tell you why.
By saying being a ceasefire. That's not being
anti-Semitic.
And the reason why And
so
let me just make
they're
this
holding
last
hostage
point.
to make
The
the
reason
show,
why people tend
give
to
them
hold
time to
Israel accountable higher than
build up
Hamas,
their.
the reason
They
why
want to
people try
build
to
it
hold
up.
Israel
And it's
accountable
only a
more.
matter of time.
Can I just make this point? Can I make this
Because
point?
Hamas are animals.
To make this
Because
point,
Hamas are animals.
No,
Hold
I'm just
up.
trying to,
They're
Steve,
animals.
again,
Steve, wait
I'm
a
trying to
minute,
have a nice
Steve.
dialogue.
Wait. Stop calling me, Todd. Stop calling me. Now, one at a time.
I just
Keith,
want to
you're
make
going to
this
finish
final
your
point.
point.
The reason
No, wait.
Keith said, why do people want to hold Israel accountable more so than Hamas? And then everyone on the show is saying Hamas are animals, they're a terrorist organization. Israel is funded by the United States. Of course, we're going to hold them more accountable, because if we're recognizing them as a country, if we're funding them, we're going to hold them more accountable than a terrorist organization who we don't even necessarily have any relationships with without going through intermediaries. It makes no sense what you're saying, that for some reason, by telling Israel, hey, you know what, don't go in there and just bomb innocent people, you may need to hold back. That's not being anti-Semitic. That's being diplomatic. That's what we've always been. That's what we've always done with our allies, believe it or not. Now, you can sit here and lie and say, hey, there was nothing done before October 6th. That means you are ignorant to the whole crisis over there. Because if you can go back to the time that Israel was founded in 1949 all the way up till now, it has been nothing but chaos and war and tension happening in the Middle East. So to sit here and all of a sudden, oh my God, yes, there are college protests have happened prior to October 7th. Yes, they were. You just were ignorant to them because you weren't in that space. I know people before were protesting Israel's occupation of the West Bank and other places within the encroachment on Palestinian land. This has been a topic of discussion. Just because you were ignorant to it, Keith, doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Okay, thank you. So let me say that the United States has no better friend than Israel. The United States, we are pro-Israel, but we care about the helpless citizens of Gaza who were hurt by the attacks. We want them to get aid. We want them to be able to be treated in the hospitals. That's what we're saying. So Dick Durbin, let me present the screen. Wait a minute, Keith, I see you. Hold on. On Mediaite.com, Dick Durbin said today, this article is written by Philip Nieto today at 4:27 p.m. Democratic senator on MSNBC says we must find real hospitals in Gaza to protect and provide aid. The senator said that a neutral party should provide aid to real hospitals in Gaza amid the current war in the region between Israel and Hamas. The hospitals in Gaza have struggled to treat civilians and those injured from the fighting due to the lack of proper medical supplies and bombardment. Israel argues that Hamas shields themselves by using medical centers to coordinate attacks. Durbin said, what I'm looking for is credible reports on these hospitals and looking for a third party that the public and the parties that are involved will accept. And that's not an easy thing. In fact, some organizations have told me pointedly that they don't want to get involved in that. It's too political. It could backfire on them. The bottom line is the hospitals that are real hospitals that have real needs should be identified and protected. And these hospitals have to be kept out of the conflict. Let's go to Stephen, and then Cousin Todd, and then Earl. Stephen, your comment on Senator Durbin.
You won't have hospitals like that because Hamas is running the entire show, and they have 300 miles of tunnels underneath everything and underneath every hospital, and they do whatever they want. What are we trying to say? What are we trying to do here? These people need to be eliminated. If we hadn't taken out every Nazi and a lot of German citizens who were in support of the Nazis at the time, then we would all be speaking German right now, and we'd all be, I don't know, that's what you want. These people that we're talking about now are the modern day Nazis. They need to be wiped out. There's no question about it. Anybody with any little bit of sense and no political leanings or anything at all, if you have any sense at all, you know these people need to be wiped out, because these people say they want to destroy Israel. They want Israel gone. They don't want a two-state solution. This is like Keith
Okay.
was saying. That's the
All
truth.
right. Thank
They
you.
want Israel
Thank
to
you.
be wiped off the map. So these people that want this need it
Okay.
for themselves, because they don't
Thank you.
deserve.
Cousin
They don't
Todd.
deserve to breathe our air.
Cousin Todd.
Okay, that's sheer stupidity.
Yeah.
And people like him repeat themselves over and over and over. If you ever listen to him,
True.
he says like two things, and he says them 40 and 50 times. We're not talking about Hamas, dum-dum. We're talking about innocent civilians.
There's no innocent civilians. There are none.
Oh, there are none. So a 6-year-old little
Because
girl.
Hamas puts bombs on them. Hamas hides behind them.
Shut up. Get him to shut
Hamas
up.
hides behind them.
Stacy, wake up. Wake up. Yay. There you go. So a 6-year-old little girl is part of Hamas because they have. You are psychotic. You really need to talk to somebody, and Stacy will help pay for it. Now, to the thinking people, you can't blame the whole community on a terrorist organization. These people are innocent, just like you can't. Anyway,
it's not they can't help it. They're under siege. They're under siege. They have to do whatever Hamas says. They are under Hamas's control. They will be soldiers of Hamas. These people are not free. It's not. No, it's not Israel.
Said that?
Okay, thank you, Todd. Sum it up. Sum it up, Todd.
Israel's not the problem.
So, you cannot continue to bomb. Now, I can understand them wanting to bomb in the beginning. That's a human reaction because you killed our people. And so, but the difference is, and this is what happens when Israel is at war. 1,400 of them were killed. There will be 14,000 Palestinians killed.
It's not the same.
So what's happening here is Benjamin Netanyahu should not continue bombing. He said as soon as this is over, this 2 or 3 day pause, he's going to go right back to bombing. He should rethink that.
Stacey, can I make one comment about these Nazi analogies?
Go ahead, Aguna, and then Earl.
Let's remember. Let's think about it. When people bring up the equivalent that Hamas is equivalent to the Nazis, let's think about what they're saying when they say this. They're comparing a terrorist organization to Nazi regime in Germany who controlled Germany, which at the time was a powerhouse. Also occurred in 1940. So what are we talking about? We're saying, okay, we need to go back to 1940 tactics in order to deal with a modern day issue with a terrorist organization, comparing that to an administration in Germany. And again, remember, when they bombed, let me finish. When they bombed Dresden, they bombed a lot of the cities in Berlin. They took it out on the German people. But that was 1940. Okay, that was 1940. We have tactical weapons. We have other ways of dealing with these situations.
And that's what Israel's trying to do. Israel's not trying to kill women and children. Israel's not trying to kill women and children, but Hamas is. Hamas wants women and children to die.
Let's go back to 1940. Let's use 1940 tactics and thought process to deal with
I'm not saying tactics.
Let me piggyback off of what you just said.
I'm saying they hate the Jews as much as the Nazis did.
I gotta bring Earl in. They hate
the Jews.
Shut up.
You hate the Jews
20,000 times.
Go ahead, Earl.
Yeah. Make it about me. Make it about me because you don't have a point.
I was asking Todd, does he hate the Jews? Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, so we live in a new world now, and years ago, mainstream media would kind of give everybody a glimpse into what was happening on battlefields and what would happen during any dispute that we saw globally. Well, now, because of smartphones, because of all the CCTV cameras everywhere, we have access to things that we normally wouldn't have. So worldwide sentiment has shifted, and Israel has overplayed their hand. They fought this war in a terrible way. and they are actually violating international rule of law. When you do collective punishment, as you know, they were trying to suggest earlier, these are things we've adjudicated across the world and decided as humans, that's a level of barbarity we would never go to again. So when you see these things happening, collective punishment, deciding you're going to cut off water, electricity, gas, and the internet for an area, bombing an area by saturation bombing, claiming you're going after a certain segment, when in all reality, if you wanted to fight that fight, you would just send your soldiers into the tunnels and do a guerrilla warfare battle, soldier for soldier. But you're doing collective punishment again, which violates international law. The only way out of this, honestly, is a one-state solution that is a democratic state where everybody has rights. Now, the problem with that is it goes against the ideology of Zionism. The ideology of Zionism says we are not only going to occupy this land, we're going to continue to expand, and we are going to wipe these people out, which is genocide. So at this point, when you see these college students who actually read and know things and have followed these stories and are not being led by the nose by Netanyahu and his terrible propaganda network, you get an idea on not only what's happening, but why things are happening. So when you have a state where certain people can't vote, certain people are restricted in areas they can go to, certain people are restricted about how much water they get, how many resources they can use, and they're blockaded by land, air, and sea, meaning they can't even get materials in, of course, it's going to lead to aggression from that side.
It's because of Hamas, not Israel.
Again,
Israel helps them. America helps them. We all help.
I just want to finish my time. I didn't interrupt you. So when you're watching a fast-moving genocide in real time, and the world is reacting because they're seeing children's bodies blown to bits, they're seeing parents having the bodies of their children in bags and carrying them down the street, walking through rubble. And somebody says, well, you know, October 7th. And you say, okay, well, what happened before October 7th? And when they
Israel gave them time to leave. Israel.
It's not your turn. It's not your turn. So when you see something like that, you can get an idea why world sentiment changed. And now you see a situation where Biden has kind of pivoted and is putting a little more pressure on Netanyahu and saying, look, we're going to do this pause, and then they're going to negotiate further. And it looks like we're going to see ultimately a ceasefire in this situation because there's no win for Israel here. You are creating the anger and anti-Semitism that you claim to be afraid of. You're actually fanning the flames of it with how you're prosecuting this war. So again, you can go to legal scholars who will tell you about the Geneva Convention, and then we can just go to these Israeli spokespersons who have done such a terrible job talking about eliminating people, using words like animals, talking about collective punishment as if that's the
cutting
way
off babies' heads are animals. You cut off a baby's head, you're an animal.
Stop talking, man. And then when we start debunking the lies, and this is the biggest one, on October 7th, we were told that they beheaded children and attacked and killed Israelis. And what we found out was the Israelis were actually firing upon the kibbutz and the hospitals in the areas that Hamas was operating in when they were holding hostages, because their policy was, we don't exchange hostages. We are willing to let our people die in order to eliminate a Hamas soldier. Now, that policy,
what the hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about something you have no understanding of.
I know nobody's heard what you're talking about.
Many people have. You just don't read. So this policy has backfired. And again, all of this anti-Semitism that we're going to see going forward, this is going to be a big part of the reason why it happens. Like, this is a terrible job by Netanyahu, who's trying to save his job. He's up on corruption charges. He's fighting back. You saw Israeli citizens outside of his home yesterday condemning him, telling him he should resign. That's the state we're in now, where he feels like if he's aggressive, he can continue to hold that job, but the people there actually want him gone. So
if the 7th had never happened, would Netanyahu be doing any of this? If any of this would have happened?
Hey, man.
Okay, stop. Okay,
so, Stacey, I'll just end there because this child doesn't have the discipline to be quiet for a few minutes. I'll just end there.
Okay.
You went on for 20 minutes. You talked for 20 minutes.
And prayers our thoughts and prayers go out to all
You can't
those
control
hurt and
yourself,
affected
Stephen.
and killed
Control yourself.
and lost their lives in the Israel-Hamas war on both sides. Like I said, the United States has no better friend than Israel, and we are pro-Israel. But we do want
We are all
those.
not pro-Israel.
Yeah, he's not
We are all not.
pro-Israel. He
I,
hates. He
I will
hates
not. I will
Jews.
not support a genocidal
Kill the
state.
Jew. Kill
No.
the Jews.
Why would you yell that on a public forum? Like, what is wrong
What's
with
wrong
you?
with you?
You yelling that on a
Yeah,
public forum?
That is sick.
No. So
Go ahead.
again,
What
got
were you saying?
issues, man.
I'm
Stephen,
never.
you got
I
issues.
will never support anti-Semitism. I will never support people who are against Judaism. But I will support people saying they are anti-Zionists, because Zionism is not is not the Jews. That is not. You don't make that comparison and try to make these things equal. That is an ideology
out
that
of
has
time.
gotten us to where we are now, and it needs to stop.
Okay,
If
thank you. We are
Israel
out of time
if Israel
to our
says
first
the truth,
responders.
if Israel stops fighting, there will be no more war. Hamas will never stop until every Jew is dead. You lost your argument, Earl. You lost your argument. The Hamas will not stop until every
He's going
Jew
to
is
say that
dead.
30
The
times.
Jews
Watch.
don't.
Okay, whatever.
Look, watch him say it
Okay,
30
I'm not
times.
arguing with his
He's gonna say the
time.
same thing.
You're not
The
worthy
Jews-
of talking to.
Show.
You're not
And he
worthy
gets
of
To our
on
arguing with.
first
camera like that, like
responders.
it makes it
Yeah.
right.
You're an
Get
idiot.
out
To our
the
first
camera.
responders and
Back
our
up from the
communities.
camera, Stephen.
You make our lives
you.
livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do and sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian
Eagles.
moderate Republican, go Eagles. Keith, the constitutional conservative.
Hey, did you dye your hair, Keith?
Stephen.
You dyed your hair, didn't you?
Stephen, the independent thinker.
The Yahoo from Brahu. The Yahoo of Brahu.
Right.
Earl, thank you for
blew
joining
away.
us. We
Blew
are very
every argument
appreciative
out
of
the
your
water.
opinion.
Go by the gift shop.
And
Go
my
by the gift
cousin
shop, Stephen. Go
Todd.
pass.
I'm
Todd.
Stacey Johnson. Let's keep this
Surprise.
conversation going on Stephanie Stallworth's The Flow Television Network, Instagram, Twitch, X, TikTok, and where else are we? Is that all? Is that
We may
is that
not
all
be
we are?
anywhere after those anti-Semitic Stephen comments. Jesus.
I can't believe that
We'll
man
see you
chanted
next
that
week.
on air.
Good night.
He's just lost
Yeah.
his mind.
Yeah, and when we
Did I say
talk
my
about
name?
abortion,
Are we-
I say,
oh.
kill that baby. Kill that baby.
Are we on OnlyFans?
Yeah, Stephen needs
We
Stephen
are
needs
not
it.
on OnlyFans. We are not going on OnlyFans. I don't even know what that is about, Cousin Todd. If you want to be on OnlyFans with Stephen and Keith, that's your choice.
Surprise.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Hey, that's gonna be a tough game,
Good
but
night.
you can afford to lose one game.
No, we can't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. I'm not
We
completely
don't want
sold
to.
on Brock Purdy. I think Purdy's got a
Can I make a quick comment, Stacey?
no.
Yes, go ahead, Keith.
You made enough. You guys are gonna get us
Since
canceled.
I didn't get a chance to respond after Aguna's,
No, go
and-
lay down and brush
wanna say
all of your
this.
teeth.
Come on, Keith.
Yeah, I just want to say this. It's Stephen. I know you appreciate it, so I'm saying it for you.
I already did.
I know.
Yeah.
OnlyFans.
He's amazing.
OnlyFans.
Stephen,
Funding.
Get a subscription,
And I
Stephen.
looked it up.
Oh,
I
OnlyFans.
actually looked at Aguna. I mean that Nas. I even follow Nas. Nas, I followed your advice. I actually looked it up.
You brushed your teeth?
Funding, funding for Israel. This is to Aguna. Funding for Israel was held up today in the Congress. The House approved funding for Israel, billions. And it says, but unless Ukraine gets also equal funding, they're not going to let it pass. So I just want you to know
It's
that
not equal funding.
is the left aid.
It's
to
not
Ukraine.
equal funding. It's not the same funding levels.
And why do we have to fund? Why do we have to fund either one? Why do we have to keep funding either one? We don't have the money. Why don't we give the money to the people
Stacey
here in this
just told
country?
y'all that's your friend. Y'all got to be nice to them. Y'all got to give
No,
them
I
$4
don't.
billion
No, I don't.
a year.
No, I don't want to give money to anybody. We're giving money to Hamas as well. We're giving money to everybody. This country, that's what's killing us.
Hold on,
Stephen,
I
articulate
want to
what giving
also
money
commend the
means.
Nas.
What is
Giving money means
can't.
a lot of money
He
is being
can't agree.
laundered, and a lot of people are getting rich off our tax dollars. We're giving people our tax dollars and money that we're printing,
Who are these
and our
people?
dollars get more
Hold on,
expensive,
Stephen.
Aguna. I know that don't
Who are
bother
these
you
people?
because you don't use dollars. You use like gold coins or something.
I want to
No,
commend
no.
Nas.
I mean,
I want to give
actually,
credit
the
to
funding
Nas.
that you're talking
I don't
about
want your
is
credit.
I'm
going
outta
into
here.
American companies.
Nas, I want
It
to
goes
give
to
you
American
credit.
I don't
companies
want
that
your
supply
credit.
arms
Keep
to
it.
those countries.
Nas, no, but Nas, you actually told the truth. You admitted that you are not pro-Israel. You're not
Right.
pro-Zion. Zion is a Christian.
He had a context.
I had to explain what Zionism was to you 2 weeks ago.
Christian.
What are you talking about?
Zion comes
You
from the
didn't know what it
Judeo-Christian.
was, you
He can
idiot.
he can be
idea.
pro or con whatever he wants. We have a free country,
Exactly,
man.
but he don't know what it
You are
is, so I'm not
therefore
listening to him.
anti-American and
Shut
anti-Israel.
up,
I
man.
understand, and I
So,
thank you
so
for being honest.
Heath,
God
your
bless
original
you,
point.
sir.
Yeah,
Let
so
me
the man
mind.
who waves the
All right, wait a minute.
Constitution around
Let me
and
share
talks
this.
about the First Amendment now says,
God
oh,
bless
since you believe differently than me, then you're
God bless you.
therefore. No, shut
God
up.
bless
It's more
you for your-
complicated than that.
So,
No,
so
it's
let
only
me
the
tell you,
Constitution
while
he
we were
wants
on
it.
the show, excuse me,
Only
while we were on the
Oh,
show,
what a
Oh.
beautiful day.
it was announced that former Secretary of State Dr. Henry Kissinger dies at the age of 100. PR
Wow.
Man, I didn't
Newswire
realize he
reported
was still
30
alive.
minutes ago.
Yeah,
didn't
I
realize
knew he was still
alive.
alive, but I didn't know he was nearly 100. He was very influential, but good Lord, he did a lot of bad. He might have done some good here or there, but he did a lot of bad in this world.
He
But
died
yeah,
today at 100 years old at his home in
look,
Connecticut.
I don't want to speak
Our
bad of
thoughts
the
and prayers
dead.
to his,
Yeah,
our
Well,
thoughts
rest in
and
don't.
peace.
prayers to his
Don't.
family.
I will.
Rest in
Thank you
peace.
for being honest.
No, don't
Thank you
bring
for
no
being
bad
honest.
karma on you, man. Come on,
Thank you
Earl.
for
You
Oh,
don't need no
now you
bad
believe
karma.
in karma after all you said earlier? Now you
I
believe in
believe every
karma?
word I said.
thank
I'll
you.
double down. I'll triple down. I'll quadruple
Exactly.
down.
Okay,
Everything I
then shut up
said,
then.
I'll believe what I say is the truth, and I will not tell you a lie. You may
Thank
not
you.
agree
So
with me, but
anyway,
that's cool.
at his funeral, somebody is going to talk about the good works of his life. They're going to talk about the people he affected in good ways, but the obituaries from the major papers in this country that are really going to dive into who that man was, the atrocities he's committed, the things he's responsible for, leading presidents into these forever wars, the amount of bodies, just period, when we go to Vietnam, Cambodia, like all these different situations, and presidents who regretted hiring that dude who got them in these military quagmires. Like, this is one of the worst people to ever be born in this country. You know, and I'm not saying
He
that
wasn't born in
flippantly.
the United States.
Well,
He
you know
wasn't
what
born
I
in the
mean.
United States.
You know what I mean.
To live.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
we gotta let
if
the body get cold
the-
first, man. You gotta let the body
no,
get
no,
cold.
no, you don't.
It's
No, you
funny you
don't.
say that, but you
Come
say
on, man. Come on.
When Saddam Hussein died, did we need to say, oh, he kept the water on for them? Like, no.
I mean, that's amazing.
You need to
Jimmy
call
Carter-
a monster a monster.
And
Well, at
yet
least we can all agree on something for a change.
protesters.
Call a monster a
You said
monster,
nothing.
man.
You say nothing about that. The
Say nothing
protesters,
about what? Protesters. Yeah,
the
you have the right to
protesters,
protest. Yeah.
the
That Constitution you wave around. Yeah.
anti-Zion protesters who invaded Jimmy
Zionist.
Carter's wife's funeral.
Please get things correct.
They invaded
Zionist.
his wife's funeral, and you are anti-Zion. And you are
Anti-Zionist.
anti-Israel.
Anti-Zionist. Please get things right.
Yes.
When,
I understand you just learned about this concept a couple weeks ago, so you're struggling. But
No. Zion,
but again, moving
concept.
on. When people
I
are
know
being
the
killed
concept.
in a slow-moving genocide, and you
I'll
have a right
explain
to
what-
protest, if that right to protest is taken away in that critical moment, then you don't actually have a right. So do
Well,
I
why would
agree
you
with those?
protest
Hey
somebody's
man,
funeral?
hey.
Why would you protest at somebody's funeral?
I'm about to explain that. Close all those big teeth for 1 second. Now explain.
Why? Why would you protest somebody?
You're asking me again, as I told you, I'm going
All
to
right,
explain.
go ahead.
Okay, so shut up. For your hairline recede even more. So again, when you have a right, that right only means something when it matters. So when things are dire or things are at their most most terrible, that's when people are supposed to be able to use that right. Now, I don't agree with them protesting at a funeral. I think it's uncouth. I don't think that's the place to do it, but they do have the right to do it, and they chose to do that. And honestly, I think it was a really important thing to do to show the world.
Why is it up to you to define what freedom is? I mean, it's like
because
you
he's an
have
idiot.
this personal perspective of freedom, and if you don't agree with it, all of a sudden it's unconstitutional and all this other stuff.
Well, it's because
like you have a very warped,
it's a typical fake conservative. It's a fake conservative and a fake
My
Christian.
definition coincides.
Yeah,
with
you're a fake conservative.
No, my definition.
No, you should say, hey, you know what? I don't agree with their I don't agree with how they're exerting their rights.
Freedom has to do with.
Let's say it together. I don't agree with how they're executing their rights, but they have the right to do it. As Americans, we should be able to say that.
Whatever you want to do. That's what freedom means. You cannot do whatever you want to do. Freedom means you cannot do.
As you define it. Again, you are a very warped view of conservatism.
Not free.
I know, right?
Why?
It's tough listening to these fake Christians and fake conservatives.
With other women.
He's a populist.
I am not free.
It's tough listening to these fake Christians and fake conservatives.
With other women.
He's a populist.
I am not free to
You're
go
a
out
fake
and rock
conservative,
the
man.
You're
right,
a
thank
populist,
you.
borderline fascist.
Someone
Have a
basically.
good night. We'll see you next week. Good night.